So, I heard you wanted to study abroad. My name is Claire Vivian, and I'm going to teach you guys Study Abroad 101, what you need to know before you get started on this whole study abroad journey. So the first step is to definitely identify your goals and your preferences regarding study abroad. And I know this seems really basic, but it's super important when you're deciding where you're going to spend the next 5 months of your life. So this would include like academic considerations, like if you are able to transfer these credits to your degree. This would include maybe even cultural and language preferences. So for me, since I'm studying abroad in Spain, one of the biggest reasons I chose Spain is because I am actually learning Spanish and I would love to be able to be bilingual in the future. And Spanish is just really exciting language for me to learn. And so I want to apply that when I am studying in Madrid because Madrid is the perfect place to be immersed in that language. Also, the duration of the program, budget considerations. I would honestly just start a Google Doc, start a little notebook, and write down everything that you want to get out of this study abroad experience and just read it over and really make sure that this is the type of environment you want to live for 5 months of your life. The second step to Study Abroad 101 will be researching destinations. So you need to take all these factors and put them together into a location. So this could include like your language preference, your culture preference, even safety and cost of living is definitely a top thing you need to think about when you choose a country. So for instance, for me, Spain has a lower cost of living, which I really appreciate because it enables me to get my own room in the middle of the city. And it also has a culture and a safety level that I'm really comfortable with, so it felt like a really good match for me. There also are some medical consideration you should keep in mind because in some countries it actually is illegal to bring certain prescriptions into that country. So I would consider having a chat with your doctor about whether a location you're thinking about is actually doable for you in regards to any medical concerns. So the next step is to decide what kind of program that you want to partake in. There are many methods of studying abroad. Actually, you can go through your university, you can go through private programs. I know one of them is CIEE if you want to research doing it outside of a university. You can also directly enroll in an abroad institution. And so that would look like just going to college or going for a summer abroad on your own. And you really do need to talk to your home university though, if it's just for like a summer, to make sure that those credits transfer. But I do know of some people who have actually just gone to college abroad for the full 4 years. So definitely, if that's something you're interested, make sure that that degree applies to what you want to do in the US. So if you want to be a lawyer in the US, make sure that the law degree that you get, let's say in France, is applicable to the job that you want to have in the future. For me, I am doing my study abroad program through USC, through my university. And I would recommend this because, it's a lot more regulated for me, actually. My university makes us be a lot more independent when we do our study abroad program. So we do the visa on our own, we find housing on our own, but I know a lot of universities that set it up for you. So that might be a really nice option if your university does offer that for you. Even if not, it's a really great learning experience to be able to set yourself up for success abroad and learn those skills of what it takes to be independent. So in regards to the application process, plan ahead of time. For me, I was planning this ever since I went to university. Honestly, ever since I applied to USC, I was like, I want to study abroad. So make sure that you're thinking about this ahead of time as possible. No worries if you're just coming on to this realization that you really want to study abroad. I would just act now. For me, I planned my course load to be able to study abroad in the spring of my junior year perfectly. So for some of my friends, they are not able to study abroad because they have too many credits that they need to fulfill at USC. And if you have a more intensive degree, that's something I would talk to your counselor about. I would talk to your counselor either way. But a more intensive degree means that you might not have enough room in your credits. And even I wouldn't worry too much though if that's you, because a lot of universities offer summer study abroad programs or summer internships abroad that you can definitely do. These are more career oriented though. But I have friends who've done them and had amazing experiences. It's more of like a short, maybe 10-day program, or you can do a whole summer. Some of them are like Fashion in Milan, where you study, fashion and you go to major fashion houses, stuff like that. They can have programs that are oriented towards your career focus, which I think is a really cool opportunity. I would totally recommend that if studying abroad a whole semester is just not an option for you. So as far as the application process goes, I'm going to be talking about this based on my personal experience. I know it's going to be very different per program that you apply to. For me, since it was through my school, I basically had to write essays and fill in a lot of my personal information. I also had to complete an interview and get a letter of recommendation from one of my professors. This is a little bit more intensive than I've heard it being in other programs, but my specific program through the Marshall School of Business is a bit more competitive than normal, and so they do require those extra materials. Nevertheless, most apps will ask you to write essays and usually just put in your personal information. I'm guessing that a good amount of them ask for letters of rec as well. I'm not completely sure about the interview part though. I can make a separate video detailing my interview process if necessary, but I feel like that's a little bit more specific to my program. When it comes to a successful application, they love to see students who are doing this more than just to travel. You are doing this for a specific purpose, and it relates back to your life, your career, your focus. And they love to see when you take that knowledge that you've learned and you bring it back to your university, to your life, to your career. So one of the big things that I emphasized in my application is that I wanted to learn Spanish, become bilingual, and be able to connect with the population in my hometown, San Diego, as well as in LA that is Spanish speaking. Because that was like a big important thing for me. And I feel like that personalized my application a bit more. A lot of students actually just say, oh, I want to work on my Spanish skills. But that doesn't mean anything to them, because what have you done up to this point to learn Spanish is what they're seeing. For me, I talked about how I've been teaching myself Spanish for over a year now, and I've been listening to Spanish music and I've been immersing myself in the culture already to be extremely prepared for when I get to Spain. This proves that what I'm saying is true and that I will continue this like intense Spanish study while I'm there. If you just say, oh yeah, I want to do better on Spanish, they're not going to believe you, because a lot of people in Spain, in Madrid, in Barcelona, a lot of them speak English already. So the chances of you needing to be fluent are pretty low. Does that make sense? Anyways, I would just tie it into a passion that you have, a big goal that you have, and how you're going to bring it back when you end up getting all this knowledge. How are you going to apply this to help yourself and to help others around you, maybe in your career, your friends, your community, etc. Also, do not say that you are studying abroad to travel. Do not. They hate that. I've literally heard it directly from an admissions counselor for undergraduate study abroad, that they laugh when you say that you want to study abroad to travel, or that you want to be in a certain location to travel, because you can travel now. You can, it just doesn't make too much sense. The point of choosing this university that you want to apply to is because you want to be there. So saying that you want to travel is saying that you want to leave the institution that you're applying for, which is kind of counterproductive. So I would really avoid that subject. I would say maybe something along the lines of experiencing the culture in that specific place that you are applying to, rather than experiencing the culture all over the world, if that makes sense. So as for pre-departure prep, you will need to most likely go through the visa process to apply for a student visa. Now, I'm about to make a video right on that, and I will probably link it, but this is a long process and it's really, really important. So get on that as soon as possible. Depending on where you're going, your university might do it for you. For me, going to Spain, I had to do every single step on my own, so I will definitely detail that in my next video. But that's really important. You can't study abroad if you don't have your visa. So as for housing, I also had to find my own housing. Congrats to you if your housing is provided for by your university. If not, good places to look for housing are aluni.net, Housing Anywhere, Airbnb. Actually, you can find long-term rentals. They'll just be more on the expensive side. And then there's Spotahome. All of those have all over Europe. I used aluni.net because it was only for students, so you could not live there if you don't prove that you're a student. So I'll be living with other international girls, and I'm really excited for that, so I would recommend it. I would also apply to housing as ahead of time as possible. As soon as you are certain that you're going somewhere, apply to housing, because especially in popular cities like Madrid or Barcelona, Paris, Rome, all of those housing places are getting snatched up because study abroad students are looking for housing all at the same time. So do this as soon as possible. That's what I did, and I got a great place right in the middle of the city, and I'm really happy with it. So next, you need to prepare medically. If you have any sort of prescriptions, you need to make sure that you have that actual prescription card and get a doctor's note. Now, your visa doesn't say anything about that, but this is just generally recommended. If you just look it up, this is what you really should do when you're traveling long-term and you're bringing large amounts of medication. So I would have your doctor write a doctor's note on why you need this prescription and how much you need, so that when you come into customs, they'll look at all this medication and then they'll say, okay, you need this because you're going to be staying somewhere for 5 months. So definitely have a conversation with your doctor, with whoever you need to, in regarding medical preparation, because it's super important that you have access to everything you need medically when you're there. For me, since I don't have any big medications, it looked like, going to the dentist to get a checkup, to get a cleaning, going to get all of my vaccinations in order, even if it's just a flu vaccination, doing everything medically I can to prepare for abroad where I might not have those options. Lastly, I would prepare yourself culturally. Learn the basics of whatever language is dominant in that area. I know that a lot of places do speak English very well, but it's just very helpful to know the basics in the language. For me, everything I see on the street is going to be in Spanish. So it's going to be so extremely helpful for me to know the basics. I'm also going to take a course there, and I would highly recommend that, because that is the perfect way to learn a language, is to be immersed while learning a language. People will also so appreciate that you are trying to connect with them in their native language. So I would highly recommend doing that. Also, I would really look into, the customs there, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable, regarding everything from clothes to manners. It really varies per country, and just having a little bit of knowledge on that before you go is extremely important. So those are my top 5 steps when studying abroad and the advice I have for you when venturing into this journey. Make sure to ask me any questions if you feel uncertain about any of the topics I've covered. I will be working on a visa video as well as a packing video. I will be taking videos while I'm abroad. This is just a big deal, and I want to make sure that others don't feel so overwhelmed like I did when I started this process. I didn't really know anyone who had studied abroad before me. No one in my family studied abroad. So I kind of did this all on my own. And I really just want to be that resource out there for you guys so that you don't feel super lost when you're trying to study abroad. So thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for the next video. Bye.